Hi there, welcome to Games Over Qualia. My name is Devon. These videos work in 3 different parts. First, you send me your game and you fill out this form about your intended experience. Second, I'll play the game completely blind and then I explain what I think the game was trying to do. Third, I compare my blind experience with your intended experience and we'll see if they align or if they don't. Today's game is called Hope Timber, and it was made by Lynette Solutions. This was submitted by Peter, who was the designer of Hope Timber. This right here was the only thing he wanted me to know before playing the game. So knowing that, let's go play the game. Okay, so I just played Hope Timber. I've recorded my first impressions right here, so let's go ahead and listen to that while we watch my first attempt at watch my first gameplay while we watch my first attempt. Okay, so I just watched a movie while we watched my first time playing the game. All right, that's good. Thank you. The game is I don't know what you want to call this, a 3D puzzler. It's on their Steam page as a puzzle adventure cozy game. The game that it reminds me the most of is, I think quite obviously, Monument Valley. The puzzle is supposed to be a casual game. I would say this is casual because I felt no sense of time. It's very much a mission-based kind of go at your own pace type of game. And in that sense, it's very casual. I felt half confused and half emotionally bored, I guess is what I want to say. Maybe emotionally removed a little bit. When you look at Hope Timber, at least on the Steam page, and I'm not sure how this is supposed to be presented exactly, the slogan at the end is Hope Timber awakened to the music of a broken world. The title of Hope Timber has a thumbnail that has a little boy and a little girl that are sitting underneath what looks like a tree. Now, I never thought that I was like a little girl. It looks like that I'm possibly an older sister or a mother or something like that, but I never felt like someone who was the same age as this person. So the first impressions, like I said, I felt emotionally distant, and I only feel that way because it doesn't feel like it's demanding so much as requesting attention to a story. Like it definitely has a story that is taking place in here, and the puzzles that you are doing are within that story. I just don't know what it is. So I guess that's where the confusion comes in, right? So when I play the game, I see the hub world. I am this girl character, and as I walk around, I can do things such as play music for the little boy, and then he coughs. I'm like trying to figure out, do I need to make him better? So I go talk to him, and nothing happens because there's no dialogue in any of this. It's all completely done by symbols. I'm editing my video right now, and I realized that I skipped over some stuff, and it's because I first played this game on the Steam Deck and didn't remember a lot of the intro part before I completed the game later and then took more notes on it. So the intro part actually does have a lot more text than I was talking about. But the text, it's not a whole lot. It's from the owl. And so when you're in the hub world, there's this little owl that follows you around, and you can talk to the owl, and the owl will basically talk to you as if it's a parent, right? It'll say something like, hey, bring your music over here or something like that. But it also says some things that I never caught before. One of the things was you can change your clothes. If you go to these bonus objects when you're in the dream world, one of the bonus objects is what I thought was a doll, but it's just an animated version of clothing. So when you go over to the clothing and you stand next to it, then a little thought bubble pops up and it shows a picture of a dress. So now that I saw that, it makes much more sense. Oh, okay, that's a dress. And then when I go back to the hub world, then the thought bubble comes back up with a picture of a dress. And I'm going, oh, okay, so I just collected the dress from the dream and brought it into here. There's also this explicit statement from the owl that says you can bring your objects from dreams into this world or something like that. So I completely missed that. And I think that's interesting to have completely missed that, because that thing that he says is basically the entire premise of the game, but it's treated just like any other part of any dialogue. The font is the same. It can be skipped over just as much as any other. And when you're looking at these objects in the dream world, there's no real need to pause in front of the object to look at it. It feels like it's a bonus object that you need to collect, and you don't necessarily need to pause in front of it to see the thought bubble first of what it is that you're collecting. So it's very easy to skip over those types of things. At least for me it was, because I'm very goal-oriented when it comes to these types of games, and I'm less exploratory. Now, if this was played by someone who was more exploratory and just, was not trying to complete the game, then they might have more continuity between these two worlds than I did. But for me, it seemed as though the descriptions of the symbols with more symbols seems a little counterintuitive. It feels like I should be able to see the object in the world and just immediately think, oh, that's a horn, and oh, that's a dress, instead of having my character go over to it, pause in front of the item, then think to themselves, oh, this thing that looks like something is a horn, or this thing that looks like something is a dress. So I wanted to clarify that because I'm going to be talking about that in my first impressions here in a bit. So yeah, that's just for clarification. So I really like the artistry involved because there's a lot of care put into it. But it also seems that they're completely missing, or at least for me, like I said, this is just from my perspective. I'm just not involved in the story whatsoever. Like maybe I have to complete the demo to understand exactly what's happening, like I did with Monument Valley. But the thing with Monument Valley was that the story wasn't really a prerequisite to continue the game. The game is just a game by itself. The story doesn't actually tell the player what to do. The story is just kind of bonus tidbits here and there. And it's funny because I've talked about this before, about how this type of story delivery in games is something that I actually don't like at all when games are using stories as kind of like a bonus item. But what's interesting about the Monument Valley ones, at least from the ones that I remember, is when you complete certain gameplay sections and then you get some sort of story nugget, it feels like that's just kind of a rhythm that builds up. It's like something that you expect. It's not necessarily something that's awarded to me exactly. And in the same sense, I guess, in Hope Timber, you are this little girl who goes to these little icons in this hub world. And when you go to the icon, you enter the icon and basically play what seems to be a dream of some sort. And that's where the core gameplay loop takes place. The floating island that you then move around and try to solve logic puzzles and stuff like that. And I just, I don't really understand what's happening here. So in the dream world, you play as a anthropomorphized flower, or what it seems to be. Anyway, I can't really tell. It's a voxel kind of thing. And then there's other things in the world that you can collect that are also voxel animated. They are what looks to be like a doll, and like a dancing doll of some sort. And then there's like raindrops or tears or water or snowflakes or something. And then one that seems to be some sort of trophy or some sort of cake. I really don't know. And maybe it's one of those things. Maybe it's just because it's so abstract that I just really have no idea what's happening. But when I collect those objects, they are just bonus objects, even though they do have narrative weight to them. It feels like the narrative weight is hollow because I don't really understand what it is that I'm getting and what the point of those objects are for. The puzzles themselves are fine. There's no issue I have with the gameplay itself. The gameplay is pretty fun. There's nothing that's pushing me to want to continue to play the game. There are some points in the game that I felt closer than others, right? There's like the little sliding puzzle. As much as I hated doing that sliding puzzle, it was interesting to have something that was like a puzzle that lived within the hub world itself. I thought that was really cool. I love the sound effects, right? The use of sound effects. There is a narrative, or there's a world in here that I'm definitely immersed in. And I love that aspect of it. That's something that Monument Valley does really well, and this game does really well. And I think that's a really hard thing to do, for a developer. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. But as far as my interest level in the narrative, I feel like it's asking me to be invested, and I'm not invested. And I'm not exactly sure why. It could be that one of the things that I'm always thinking of when I'm playing this game is the little boy, because he's coughing all the time. And his little like toddler sounding coughs make me feel like I should be paying attention to that. Like I should be doing something to make him feel better. Like that's definitely something that was chosen by the developer to communicate to me. I just don't know what to do. I guess that's the point. It's not necessarily stress induced. It's just, I don't understand, if he's coughing, shouldn't I be doing something rather than trying to solve all these puzzles that seem to be not related whatsoever? And then when I enter these puzzles, how come I'm not me, instead this kind of flower? And then what are these objects that I'm collecting? One of the reasons why I go into these games blind in the first place is because the game, I feel, needs to speak for itself. And now that I have read the Steam description, it seems a lot more obvious. The Steam description basically laid out the entire plot of the game, which is you play as siblings that are trying to break the cycle of some sort of seasonal thing where the seasons don't change, and then as soon as you complete all your dreams, then you have broken the cycle. It makes a lot more sense playing the game having known that. Like, had I known that beforehand, would that have made my experience any better? I don't know. That's unfortunate. It's interesting because if I think about like Super Mario Bros. In that game, it makes sense that you need to be saving a princess. You come to this little Toad character who then says, "Thank you, Mario, but our princess is in another castle." And that tells you everything that you need to know right there. I'm going, oh, okay. I was trying to save a princess. That's why I'm in this castle. This is the wrong castle. I need to continue forward to see if I can find the princess in another castle, which means that you know immediately you're going to play at least 4 more levels until you get to another castle. That in itself is just really good storytelling in like 2 sentences, right? Which is really, really good. The storytelling that's presented here in Hope Timber is symbolically driven, meaning that there's no real sentences being said here. There is one poem, I think, that you can read. There's no narrative work. There's no narration. There's no preface or anything like that, as far as I remember. There's little instruments you can play that don't really look like instruments. And I think that's kind of working against the game a little bit. I didn't really care about the characters involved. You know, I wish I did. Like, I definitely want to. I want to care about these characters. A couple games that I'm thinking of are Inside and Gree. Inside is very easy to look at and understand from the get-go because you have real-world analogs. You're playing as a person that looks very much like a child. You're in a world that looks very much like our world, just a cartoon version of it. When you're running away from people, they look like adults and they're wearing big trench coats and everything. They have flashlights. It looks very much like analogous to what you would find in real life. So it makes sense to play a game like that without any need for dialogue. That's very easy. But I'm just now realizing that the instruments, she dreams of the instruments and then they appear in real life and then she can play them. I just now realized that. I didn't make that connection until the very last drum, but it was only because I had read the Steam description. Because as far as I can recall, the instruments don't even look the same from the dream to real life. And I don't even know if they'd appear in real life. And that's another thing, is that when I'm in this hub world, it looks very abstract. There's nothing about this that says real life. You know, there's clearly all kinds of abstract things happening. I think the most analogous to real life thing that we have is a tree. If I can recall, I don't even know if it's a tree, but there's tree and then there's some water and there's an owl that follows you around. And in fact, when the drum came in, it was blocking my path and I didn't even realize that I had it until I tried to go that way. And I realized, oh, there's a drum here now. So that was definitely something that was not communicated enough for me. The instruments coming into the world seems kind of random, and it never feels like that's the goal. The progression in here, it's not designed. It's not telling me that I have done anything. I'd much rather have something like a checklist of things that shows you, okay, now you have to get this next, and now you have to get this next. But again, even if I had those things, I still wouldn't understand why I'm getting them. And I think that's a harder thing to communicate through the game, is that you need to introduce all of these instruments in order to break this cycle. And that's what's weird about it. You know, why is it that the boy is there? And why is it that the girl is the only one that can get these instruments? And what are the power of these instruments? And where are they? And why are they, right? Why is it that when I dream, I can get an instrument and then it comes to real life and then I can play it and that makes the boy happy? But how does that do anything to anything else? You know, what is this other cycle that I'm breaking? How do I even know it's a cycle? This channel would not work if not for donations from people like you, so thank you so much for people who have donated. There's a link in the description if you so choose to donate. Otherwise, let's move on. So these were my questions, and this is what the dev had answered. So question number 1 was, what were you hoping the player would feel while playing your game? Peter answered, I wanted the player to feel the wow effect when playing each level. Each is different in terms of puzzles, decorations, and music. We use adaptive music in a way that each time a part of the puzzle is solved, and at the end of each stage, the music is evolved to the maximum. As the game is about collecting instruments and songs and dreams and using them to heal a broken world of 2 little siblings, I wanted the players to feel empathy for the little ones and urge to help them. Also listen to some cute songs you collect and see the children happy about it, while each instrument also heals the world overall. I wanted to see players see the change the music offers. What a heartfelt response. I really like that. Question number 2 was, why did you choose this experience? Peter answered, my son is ill with several diagnoses. He needs physiotherapy, among other things. Music is always a very entertaining and soothing thing for him. He also attends to music therapy and special tinnitus therapy that uses sound to rewire the brain, leading to improved motor skills, cognition, communication, and emotions. All right then. Wow, that is some inspiration, if there ever was one. I love that. That's really cool. My third question was, were there any specific moments, mechanics, or ideas that you built around that emotional goal? Peter answered, I got the idea for the main mechanic, which is rotating on the flower icons to open new paths, when I was observing how an insect travels through the foliage. As long as it sticks to it, there is no gravity involved, so it can rotate and climb anywhere. I restricted this to specific points only. The mechanic to gather items in dreams and use them in the real world where the children live. I wanted the player to realize that even in dreams and music, you can find hope and strength to change things. That is beautiful. These are the types of answers that I'm hoping for when someone, talks about making a game. I think it's tremendous that you have a inspiration that isn't just, I wanted to make a game. Not that there's any wrong thing with just wanting to make a game, but like taking games as a more serious art form as opposed to just a toy that you can create. I think diversions are perfectly fine to create, and especially if it's something that you just are interested in naturally. What is this? So I'm editing my video, and what is this? What is that? What is that? I have no idea what was going on with my camera, but that glitch shows up several times throughout the video, so sorry. That's totally fine. But, being someone who's partial to narratives and being someone who's partial to art, I think it's really cool when someone, uses this inspiration and creates a game out of that inspiration. That's really, really cool. I really dig that stuff. That all being said, I think that a lot of the communication that didn't hit for me, which was that these were kids that were trying to heal a broken world, that were gaining items from a dream and bringing them into the real world to break the cycle, as it said on the Steam page. I'm not sure what that means. But those things were never really communicated to me through the gameplay. It didn't seem so anyway. Whenever I played as the little girl and I would go to like an area, I knew that I was going to a level. I'm playing as like this, what looks to be a flower. I'm not exactly sure. I was a little confused why I was playing this area, because playing as the flower, I'm like, I'm not the girl anymore. I'm now this flower. I don't know what this is, but let's try it out. And then while I'm playing as the flower, I go around and I go to certain objects, right, that are just there. And I know that within this puzzle that looks a lot like Monument Valley, it seems to me that I am going to a specific area in order to get to the end, right? I need to collect things that are there. But as soon as I get to the object, I'm not sure what the object is or what it does, because to be honest, it just looks like just a kind of a random shape of some sort. But as soon as you get that item, I was hoping that something would happen, and it didn't seem like anything happened. It seemed like every time that I went to the item and interacted with it, the flower would do something, the item would do something, and then it vanished, and now you keep playing the game. And I'm like, what did I do? I don't even know if I collected it. I was like, okay, maybe that's just what I have to do. I just have to go to those items. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up at this point. And then when I exit the level and then I come back to the hub world, then something has changed. But to me, as a gamer, as a person who plays games, I come back to the world and I see that something has changed because I beat the level, not necessarily because I got the item. So I think that's what caused a little bit of confusion for me. The fact that you go to each level and then you collect an instrument and then you come back. I'm only saying this now because I've read the intentions of the developer. I didn't know this when I was playing the game. The whole time while I'm playing the game, I really didn't know what exactly I was doing. I thought I was trying to get the boy well enough because he kept coughing throughout the entire hub world gameplay. So I was like, I have to get him better. That has to be the thing. But it never seemed to be the thing. There was playing the musical instruments when I would go over there and play the instruments, and then the boy would have fun, like throw his arms up and stuff. I could see that I was doing something to make him happy. And then I'm thinking, okay, maybe that's what I have to do is make him more happy. But there was nothing. It seemed to be aesthetic. It seemed to be just something that was there. It just seemed like it was a fun thing to do on the side, like a mini game or something. It didn't seem like it was the game progressing forward. So I would say that for me, that I needed more contrast. And what I mean by contrast is I would compare this game to Gris, if you've played Gris before. Gris is a very artistic game that it has a big narrative in it. It has no words. There's no dialogue in the game. It's just art. And it feels like a very artsy game when you play it because there's nothing explicitly communicated to the player. Now, how everything is communicated, progressing wise, is through color. And I think it's really, really cool how they do it. You have different places that you go to, but you start out as a world that's just void of color. And you see that from the beginning. The color was brought out of the world. And you're playing as this girl who is trying to bring the color back into the world. And when you go into a level and you finally get to whatever the last thing is, you collect it and you come back, you can see that the world is now colored in that color. And then you go to another world, go to another color, come back, and you can see that now you have two colors. Bringing the color back into the world is the point of the game, and it feels like that's the point of the game. It very much feels that way because of the contrast visually that's in the game. I can see that there's nothing here first, and then there's a color, and then there's another color. As far as I recall, Hope Timber does have a kind of desaturation start, and then it becomes more colorful as you progress. But it is just a desaturation, and this is only a post hoc thing that I've seen, right? This is after I've played the game. Then I realized, I put more color into the world. It wasn't like I completed a level and then I'm thinking, hey, I did something good. That was a good thing, and I should be doing more of those because it's healing the world. I never thought about that. I always thought that I'm going to this level, I'm going to beat it, I'm going to the next level now and next level now. And while the world did get brighter, it didn't necessarily seem like I was healing the world. And I think that's because there wasn't enough contrast, because it felt like it was just kind of warm, kind of warmer, and then kind of warmer. And it just kept getting a little bit warmer. Now, while I really appreciate the aesthetic, I think the lighting in this game and the textures are really, really good. Like, it looks beautiful to play this game. Like, it looks very much like a sunset. I very much like all the colors and the use of shadows and everything. But as far as communication goes, for that awesomeness, it doesn't feel like I'm progressing forward in terms of color theory. You look at the color palette of the game, it's pretty subdued. It's not like super bright. So it makes sense that we're not going to have that much contrast in the game. But because that's not there, it doesn't feel like I'm healing a broken world. It feels like a post hoc kind of thing. What I mean by that is that I'm not doing the actions to make the world look better, or I'm not doing my actions, I'm not progressing through the game to heal the world. I'm realizing that the world is healed after I've played the game. So I'm just saying that that's not my motivation. Apart from reading the Steam page, which I only did after I played the game, I did not know that there was a narrative in this game. Now, I don't need an explanation of the world in text. I'm just saying that if you're going to do it with symbols, it's very easy for someone like me to misunderstand a lot of this stuff. So while I played the game, I really didn't know what I was doing, what the goal was of the girl, other than just to complete these levels. That was the way to progress forward. It wasn't until after I had beaten the game that I went back and read the Steam page and I realized that there was a narrative. But I'm saying from the gameplay itself, without reading anything else, it didn't say that to me. I like having mechanics that only exist for empathetic reasons, and that's it, without any ideas of progression about them. I really like that. I think that's really, really cool. I wish more games would do that, quite honestly. So those are my thoughts on Hope Timber. Thank you so much, Peter, for submitting this game. I really enjoyed analyzing this. There is a Patreon if you want to join the Patreon. There is only one tier of $8 a month if you would like to join that. I also have a podcast that I try to post episodes, try to do 3 or 4 a month. I've only got 2 out so far. That is terrible on me, but I need to continue doing that. You can also become a free member of Patreon if you'd like, and that is that. So thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace. See you later.